Hello, everyone. It's Charlton. Please subscribe to my channel, tap the notification bell, and I'd appreciate it majorly. So let me try to just get right to the point. But before I get to the main point of this video, which is the guest list of this Biden luncheon in October on October 18th, 2018, right before the election, that supposedly the whistleblower that was identified by a few outlets, talk radio, has named him. Many people have named him, Don Jr. and so forth, or retweeted it, whatever. Supposedly he attended or was invited to this luncheon that Biden had at. It was Biden. It was a State Department luncheon. It was basically welcoming the Prime Minister of Italy to the White House, and it was co-hosted by Biden and John Kerry. And that same day, Obama introduced the Prime Minister, I think it's Prime Minister of Italy, Matteo Renzi, who had endorsed Hillary Clinton very early in her campaign. I believe in February-ish of 2016, maybe March, right around there. It was publicly announced, and they're talking about it in the Podesta emails, the WikiLeaks emails, whatever. So, but that guest list is what I'm going to talk about. Before I go into that, I just wanted to very quickly kind of show you one email, just one. There's many in here that are so suspicious about how they do things, how they conduct them, how they communicate and stuff. And you can tell they're very cautious, particularly Podesta, in his communications in email, big time. So, but he wasn't too cautious on this one, I will say. But there's nothing criminal to it at all. And it's just from John Podesta to Cheryl Mills, a longtime aide of Hillary Clinton. She worked with Hillary Clinton at the State Department, and she was one of several, wrapped up in the email investigation stuff. So, and the subject is Gen conversation. And here it says, you raised, and this is John Podesta, JP, and this is to Cheryl Mills, you raised your eyebrows when I said I liked Obama and liked working with him. Think about that later today. And raised her eyebrows, that kind of means I don't know. My interpretation of that is that Cheryl Mills gave John Podesta a look, like you're full of shit, when he was basically saying that he liked working with Obama and liked Obama. When he was having some conversation with Jen, I'm assuming that's Jen Palmieri, who worked on the campaign, who's now over at Fox News. All these Hillary Clinton people and these Clinton people, they all end up over at Fox News, So, anyways, but does that sound like somebody that is, a loyal friend to Obama? It doesn't sound like it to me. Just worth noting, Anyways, so that's not hugely important. So the Biden luncheon, okay, and there was 500 people that were invited to it. It's on October 18th, 2016. That's the election was November 8th. So, that's 12 plus 8. Is that right? 24 days. I think there's 31 days. 13 plus 8. 13 plus 8 is 21 days. 13. 3 plus 8 is 11. 3 weeks later is the election. And, but it's a long list. And, not everybody attended who's invited. When that list, that invitation list was generated is not known to me. And I tried to figure that out, but I couldn't. It obviously isn't generated on October 18th. I don't know. I don't see any reports of when it was announced, any news reports that Matteo Renzi would be attending, the White House. There's the only news of it is of the actual day. So I don't know when that list was generated. But one of the points I made in a previous video is that, every former living Secretary of State was invited to this event except for one. And I think that comes to I don't know, like 8 or so different living former secretaries of state. One that's 98 years old, one that's 96 years old. Shultz is, I think, 98. Kissinger is 96. None of them attended. Powell, Albright, James Baker. But Hillary Clinton was not invited to that. She was not on the list, on the invitation list. And I believe that there's a reason for that, and it's not just because of she might have been under investigation for her emails, because that had basically been concluded. Comey had given his press conference, making a lot of different claims about how she was careless, but they were not going to proceed with charges. That was the final say on it, and that was in July, well before this. It got reopened up 6 days before the election, late in October, because of the Wiener thing or something like that, and temporarily opened for a week or so. I think it was on October 28th when he sent a notice to all the various chairheads of Congress saying he was going to relook at this. But, this is October 18th. This is well before that. We don't know, when exactly he got wind of the Wiener laptop and the fact that maybe Hillary Clinton's emails were on there. Exactly. It says early October, and again, I don't know exactly when this invitation list was generated. But I'm just leaving open the possibility that it's possible that she wasn't on there because of the email investigation. But it doesn't seem that way to me. And, she is Obama campaigned harder than her. I mean, I didn't even restate my, original theory, which is what this is about. Totally, just theoretical and all. But my theory is that Trump and Hillary fixed the 2016 election and she lost on purpose. Okay. I mean, that's my theory big time. So, and before I get into this guest list, I just want to lay out. I mean, these things. I mean, they're so Russian-like, and I'm not some expert on Russia, but I think I have a fairly decent analytical brain. I do, and I think one of the ways. You don't know what you can believe in Russian society because nothing's real. There's so many different fake versions of things. And that's just how, people grow up there, basically, my point is, I sound silly, but what I believe this was they created like a duplicate crime of the same crime they were committing. So they had two versions of what was going on, which is working with the Russians, that's every indication points to that, with Trump. And, but I think they basically, because they knew people were going to investigate this. It wasn't going to go completely unnoticed, okay? So they cooked up this duplicate version of the same crime with all these different ridiculous elements to it. Whether it's the the Christopher Steele dossier, the dirty dossier with, hookers peeing on hotel beds and silly, stupid stuff like that that's salacious in nature and stuff, but it's completely bogus. Or even the meeting between, Alexander Downer, I believe is his name, and Papadopoulos. I guess it's George Papadopoulos, I think. Alexander Downer, okay, is a very high-level Australian official. He was the longest-serving foreign minister in Australian history. Okay, and he was also the ambassador, the Australian ambassador to the United Kingdom. I don't know if he was during this time or if he was the former ambassador to the United Kingdom from Australia when he met with Papadopoulos. My point is that the fact that you have the longest-serving foreign minister in Australian history meeting privately, having a few drinks or many drinks, whatever the case is, with somebody like George Papadopoulos, who more or less is almost just a kid. Okay, he's in his 30s, but his credentials are extremely lacking. Okay, they just are. And it's just preposterous. It's just absurd. Now, I don't know what exactly directed Alexander Downer to meet with this individual. I suspect it's people from the Hillary campaign or Hillary herself, sort of push that in that direction, whatever, and it's just a big hoax. And again, it's just this way of creating a duplicate crime that of the real crime and pointing investigators towards the duplicate version. That's ultimately totally ridiculous. And then when it's all said and done, every time somebody accuses you, you can say how ridiculous it was. You see? And you look like a fool. And that's what I think, that's a broad overview of, so there's so many good things to go over, and I don't want to go into all of them. I just want to just lay out a few of those things before I go into this guest list, because I think this guest list is extremely important. And I honestly, I really do. At this stage, I believe the person who was named out in public as being the whistleblower is not the whistleblower. I firmly believe that at this point. And I questioned it, all along. Even I think Ann Coulter said she wasn't so sure that this was the guy. And I'm almost positive it's not. But what I believe is it's not as though Trump's people found this name and then found this guy's name on this Biden luncheon guest list. I think it's the other way around. I think they went to this Biden luncheon guest list to find this name. And basically, they know who the bad players are and who the good players are. And they just look through the good players to figure out which one is the closest to Ukraine and has connections. There's various things about this person that's been reported in the media. Connections to Chalupa, who I do not believe is one of the bad players. I think she's completely set up in this. I think she's like the fall guy for the fall guy. The fall guy that she's the fall guy for is Manafort. But and I just think that's critical, and that's just my instinct. I don't know these things; these are all theoretical and so forth. But that's how I think they found that name. They didn't find the name and then did a search and found him on this list. They went to this list to find this name, and that means this list is critical. That this list, Biden, for some reason, I guess he hooked up with John Kerry. I do believe that the Obama people knew something was going on. And they just didn't know the one big, huge piece. Maybe they did. I don't think so, though, was that Hillary her intention was to lose on purpose. There's so many things that you can point to that suggest that, man. From naming people to run her campaign that are so inexperienced. And I'm not insulting these people, okay? They hadn't reached that level of running a national, huge presidential campaign, running their social media campaign, and their social media director, deputy social media director, whether it's Robbie Muke, Brian Fallon, and the two persons running her social media, end of her campaign, which I'm sorry, when you look, it's extremely, there's no way, dude. And so you have all these very seasoned persons playing, feeding these sort of amateurs to run something that they know is going to fail. Well, and I don't want to get into specific names just, right now. So, but if you look through the names on that list, there's definitely some that stand out, and I've listed some, and that doesn't necessarily actually some of these people on this list here. That's what this is over here, okay? And I list not the whistleblower. I do not think he is. I'm almost positive he's not. And for reasons, for things that's been reported on him, that he's, it's been some time since he worked, anywhere near the State Department and stuff, Anyways, but other persons that were in attendance, Maria Bartiromo. So some of these people, were part of the Trump campaign. Some of them are shady as can be. Some of them I definitely think are, totally in on it, and some are not. Some are actually, I believe Biden was soliciting help, and he's also just doing some fishing around, is trying to figure out exactly, I don't know. I mean, how could I possibly know how much they suspected at this point, I don't know. So Maria Bartiromo, Christopher Christie, Bob Corker, Ann Eshoo, John Podesta, Tony Podesta. John Podesta's obviously Hillary Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, who you almost never saw during the entire election. It was all Robbie Mook and Bob Fallon. I forget the guy's first. Bobby Fallon, Robbie Mook, and somebody Fallon. Whatever. Tony Podesta is obviously John Podesta's brother. Tony Podesta is a lobbyist and has been for some time, an extremely wealthy one. And he's somebody that worked with, for, whatever, Paul Manafort in, on Ukraine during, from 2012 to 2014. It's absolutely ludicrous that all the Republicans point to Shalupta as being the person who would have handed over Manafort, or would have, tried to oust Paul Manafort when Tony Podesta had a working relationship with him and knew him quite intimately. I would think, working specifically on, Yanukovych right around the whole time this thing's going on. When Yanukovych flees Ukraine to go to Russia and so forth. Tony Podesta attended that, actually. That John didn't. Louis Susman, Bruce Swartz, Michael Zarelli. I can't go through all the various things that all these different little, breadcrumbs that are out there. I mean, like Louis Susman he's the former ambassador to the United Kingdom, an Obama appointee. He was nominated by Obama, even though he was sworn in by Hillary Clinton. He served during Hillary Clinton's time from 2000, actually, I think, hold on. So from 2009, after about a year of Hillary being in there, a little bit less. I guess he's inaugurated in July of 2009, something like that, if it's the same as Trump. Anyways, but he's the ambassador to the United Kingdom from 2009 to 2013 after Hillary. But he's an Obama person, and he's an Obama fundraiser and a Kerry fundraiser, to the best of my knowledge. And he's invited to this luncheon, with the Prime Minister of Italy, and it just seems like that there's not a real, and he attended. There's not a huge reason why he would be there. Many of the people that are invited to this luncheon, are Italian Americans, and so it's the Prime Minister from Italy, but Louis Susman is not Italian American. Sussman's not Italian. I don't know what that is. I mean, I really don't. But what ethnicity that name is. But it's not Italian, I can tell you that. So, and he's the former ambassador to the United Kingdom. And it's my belief that, just like I've said all along, that, one of the big paydays for Russia in all of this, what Hillary and Trump are expected to deliver, basically, is, Brexit, getting the United Kingdom out of the European Union, and things in Ukraine. And in my opinion, in return, there's just huge paydays, billion dollar paydays for these persons in various. Who knows? How am I supposed to know? I'm just explaining this stuff. So, but the fact that the former ambassador to the United Kingdom, during the time that Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of State, who I actually believe is an Obama person, an ally to the Obama people, was invited to this and attended, I think is significant. Bruce Swartz is another person who was I can't figure out if he's still with the Department of Justice or not. And his name comes up in the Mueller investigation that supposedly after, I think her name's Nellie Orr, had a meeting with Christopher Steele, over the dossier in July of 2016. She relates information to three different people at the Justice Department. He was one of them. And he was invited to this event as well, and he attended it. Michael Zarelli used to be the managing counsel for basically the lobbyist, the sole lobbyist but he worked for Amway, for like 16 years. Amway is a huge supporter of Trump. The founder of Amway, or the son of the founder of Amway, who's now, I guess, the chief executive, I'm not real sure. His wife is Trump's, Betsy DeVos is Trump's education secretary. And he no longer works for Amway. He was invited. I don't think he attended that. I can't remember. But and he's a lobbyist now. But before that, he worked for Rudy Giuliani. For a short period of time, I don't know, a couple years, while he was mayor of New York City, as a lobbyist for him, lobbying on behalf of New York for healthcare and other things. I mean, Bob Corker, these are just names that jumped out at me when I'm going through them. They're names that came up during the campaign. Some of them are more than just jumping out at me, obviously. John Podesta was the campaign manager of Hillary Clinton, and Tony Podesta was his brother, who was in communications with John, as late as December of 2015, I'm sure into 2016. I don't know where I think he still resides in Washington, D.C. He's got a home in Italy, I believe. They're both Italian-Americans, sort of. Their father was Italian. Their mother was Greek. So they're not that Italian. Okay, I'm half Italian, for Christ's sake. All right, my mother's full Italian. So she wasn't born in Italy, but she's 100% Italian. But Bob Corker, he kind of, he barely was a part of the Trump campaign. He attended some event in North Carolina. He was called upstage, and he actually was sort of tongue-tied and was sort of shocked he was asked to say something, and he didn't know what to say. And then he's later added to, Trump's foreign policy, council he was Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump named U.S. Senator Bob Corker to his National Security Advisory Council. And he was one of 22, which included Rudy Giuliani. So, and this is October 7th. This is October 7th, right? The end of the campaign. And, this is, 2 weeks before that luncheon. Like I said before, I don't know when that guest list was generated. I don't know if it was generated 2 or 3 weeks before the actual event on October 18th or what, but he was on it. He didn't go. And if you recall, he was somebody that Trump, and he sits on the Foreign Relations Committee. He has foreign policy experience, okay? But he was considered, he was very, very loosely considered as a VP candidate. That never happened. But he was also considered as Secretary of State, where he actually visited the White House, along with Mitt Romney and I think a couple others. They did the whole apprentice thing where they showed him going in and out, and Trump walked him in and out and greeted him and stuff. Did this whole, theatrical thing. But he was invited. And in my opinion, him and Romney were both invited to that, considered for Secretary of State because Trump wanted to meet with them one-on-one and get a feel for what they knew. Because, because I think because Corker's name was on this list. Okay, I think this is a critical list. And Romney, in another video, I talked about this. Romney is friends with a guy named Vin Weber, who, along with Tony Podesta, was another lobbyist that worked with Manafort, on Ukraine during the time from 2012 to 2014 when the whole, Yanukovych thing was going on and Ukraine was going to join the European Union, and it never happened because Russia doesn't want that, okay? Just like Russia wants the United Kingdom to leave the European Union. And, everything, whatever. I mean, I'll leave you with two other notes because I can't go on and on about this. One, maybe three. If you're just a comment, I used to be like ultra conservative, like Ted Cruz conservative. I want small government, the smallest possible government, which is never going to happen. It never, ever, ever gets any smaller. Okay. But just common sense, everything that Trump does, I think is for his own financial interests, flat out, 100%. I think there's a million different things that are going on that are making him more wealthy and expanding his business wealth empire. But oddly, it always seems to be very good for Russia too at the same time. Now, if you just look at the very basics of, if let's just assume they were going to do this, or Russia. I mean, why would Russia go through all the trouble of working with somebody that nobody thought was going to win, and then he ends up winning miraculously? I mean, basically, why? In order to fix the election, it's too. I'm not good enough to communicate it, but you can't fix the election without the loser. That's the only way to guarantee it, dude. And all these notions that the Obama people were like setting Trump up with this, like making it look like he was colluding with the Russians, the duplicate crime that I'm talking about. That's what was fed to the Justice Department by Clinton. Clinton, who's been advising Trump this whole time about everything, about Biden, about everything how everything works in the State Department, about all of Obama's former holdovers. She knows everything about them. But all the, the logic behind, Obama supposedly setting him up with like Mifsud and things like that, and they're saying he was a CIA asset. Nobody thought Trump was ever going to win. It was a ridiculous notion. So why would they be bothering to set him up? Doesn't make any sense at all. And one last thing, and this has been reported a long time ago, about the January 5th meeting with Obama, Biden, Susan Rice, and Sally Yates. Okay, and Susan Rice, Obama's national security, in my opinion, after the election, they knew. They knew instantly. I mean, they knew she lost on purpose. And you basically have somebody in the White House that's more or less like, just completely sold us out to Russia. Totally. I mean, that's what it seems like. I mean, I really believe that. And it's just theoretical. But they had this meeting, on the 5th, and she memorialized it to herself on the very day that Trump was inaugurated, which I think was the 20th, January 20th, in an email as just a record, And in this meeting, because these people know. These people know what has happened, and now they're screwed. I mean, the election is over. People have voted the way they voted. And you can't undo the fact that Hillary intentionally tried as little as possible, did as little as possible in all the swing states, to lose on purpose. What are you going to do? I mean, you can't undo that, and you're going to go out and say that she lost on purpose? Are you going to sound like me? I don't think so. Right? No. So, but they had this meeting, and in that meeting, President Obama began the conversation by stressing his continued commitment to ensuring that every aspect of this issue is handled by the intelligence and law enforcement communities by the book. The president stressed that he is not asking about, initiating, or instructing anything from a law enforcement perspective. He reiterated that our law enforcement team needs to proceed as it normally would by the book. From a national security perspective, however, President Obama said he wants to be sure that as we engage with the incoming team, we are mindful to ascertain if there is any reason that we cannot share information fully as it relates to Russia. And I just think that totally lines up with what I'm saying, man. I really do. And, Nancy Pelosi calling Trump an imposter, I don't think that's a slight of tongue. I think she's definitely channeling to him, and she's saying what I'm saying. That's the story there, dude. There's more, but that's it, dude. I don't even know how long this is. Probably 26 minutes. That's my guess. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. I'll see you in the next video. Later, man.